Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
Maybe you need a timeout.
Welcome to the Luke and Rory podcast. Here are two guys, knuckleheads if you may, who jump in front of a camera and do a Facebook Live show.
You know, it's exciting.
They've decided to take that Facebook Live show and put it into a podcast.
Oh, good for you.
Why? Because can you really get enough of Luke and Rory?
That's a good one.
Meet Luke Weaver, who's known for his dead sexy hair.
You are an awful man. You are truly a disappointment to his own.
Meet Rory Pitts, who's never found an apple cup he can't be disappointed about.
I'm telling you, that man does not look stable.
Two guys who went to the same high school, love the same music, love sports, love movies, and love their families.
Look at these clowns. Hand-picked monkeys.
All right, looks like the boys are caffeinated and ready to go.
I want to get some coffee. You want some coffee?
That's enough nonsense. Now let's join the show.
Sound good?
Alrighty then.
There we are.
There we are.
There we are. We are here today.
How do we bring? We got
we got to bring them on, don't we?
Yeah, we're gonna bring them on.
We got a special
here.
guest.
Yeah, we do.
Welcome to the Luke and Rory show. That guy right there. That's not Rory.
No,
That's Luke.
not that pretty. Yeah,
no. But I'm Rory.
So
Today I play the part of Rory.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Speaking of I'm sorry.
A little bit of hockey.
Speaking of I'm sorry in the national game of Canada.
Little hockey talk. Well, where's our boy Drew? Because there's Drew. Now that Drew's here, let's get our
Drew, you're gonna love this
guest.
guy. Drew's gonna be trying to get in on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, without further ado, would you please introduce our next
Yes,
guest?
guys, really excited. Reached out to a buddy of ours a couple months ago. We'll talk a little bit more how we met, but we have an awesome guest today, Mr. Ryan Bucciarelli, premium sales executive with the National Hockey League's St. Louis Blues, out there in St. Louis. Mr. Ryan Bucciarelli, how are you, sir?
We're gearing up for a big game tonight against the Islanders, so a little bit nervous. Every point matters right now, but we're doing good and hoping I can get back in the playoffs after missing last year.
Yes, yeah. Well, dude, we're hoping you can pull it off, except for not at the expense of us. That's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, we were just talking about there's so your guys' last home game is against our Kraken this year, which could be a pivotal game.
Yeah, not sure. It could be very pivotal. Hopefully, it works out for the both of us, and we both snag the 2 wild card spots, and that way we're both in there and don't have to face each other round one either. So.
Yeah. We wouldn't. I don't think in that case, no way we'd face each other. I don't think until the semifinals of the Western Conference. I would think, right?
Correct. Yep.
Based on the numbers, you would know better than me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you never know with hockey. That's why it's the best playoffs of any sport. I mean, I might be biased, of course, working in the NHL, but the nice thing about hockey is, like, regardless of where you're seated, anybody can win. I mean, look at us in 2019. I mean, we got hot at the right time, came in and rode that momentum all the way to the end and won the cup. I mean, you look at Vegas, for example, they got knocked out. They weren't even in the playoffs 2 years ago, and then they won the whole thing last year, similar to you guys, where your first year weren't in there, and then you made a decent run last year. So really, any given year, the script can completely flip, and anybody can win it, which is great.
Yeah, I think you're right. I love that about hockey. I mean, even like first round last year, no one gave the Kraken a chance, and then we went in and took Colorado out in 7 games, and it was a ton of fun. But I think that's what I've always loved about hockey. There's always those. It's like even like Boston last year, like Boston had no business not winning the cup last year. Everyone assumed they would win, and it's just. I think more than any other sport, it's like that any given Sunday mentality where something, goes to, someone gets hot, something goes wrong, someone's got someone's number. So,
yep, exactly.
And we got our boy Drew Long on here with us. Drew is our resident hockey fanatic, so I know he's jacked up for you to be on the show today. And I'm going to just flat out say, Ryan, it is so good to not only see your face but hear your voice. Man, it's been too long since you left us from the Pacific Northwest.
I know, it's crazy. That's been 5 years already that I've been with the Blues.
Right.
5 years, and I was talking with Luke a little bit yesterday before hopping on, but I remember me and you, our first conversation, and I want to say maybe like July or August of 2017 it was, and I had just moved out to Tacoma in May, and you had reached out because you were just getting started in real estate. You're doing a very small client appreciation event, and you're telling me like, hey, like I know I'm going to be successful. Like this is just the start of something big, and obviously here you are now. I mean, doing big things with Luke, and it's awesome to see the success you guys have had.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what?
Appreciate it, bro.
You know what I've wondered, because I was looking, I was doing a little bit of show prep. I know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, he does.
But I was looking at your LinkedIn, dude. What does a boy from Pennsylvania do? Why does he come to the Pacific Northwest?
Yeah, it's a very good question. A question I get asked all the time. So kind of going, I guess we'll start with my path to get in sports in the first place, which kind of answers some of those follow-up questions. So born and raised in Philly, went to a small school called St. Joe's. I don't know, for their basketball team, like Jameer Nelson, Delonte West, two of the biggest names that have come out of there. And I knew going out of college, like I wanted to work in sports, and I knew I wasn't going to be the next superstar athlete by any means. So it's like, I've got to figure out how am I going to get into sports, and what is that going to look like for me? So St. Joe's, when I actually just was graduating high school, they started a sports marketing program. First time they've ever done it. And first time they ever did it. And it was only about 30 minutes from home. I knew I wanted to stay pretty close to home coming out of high school. So I was like, this checks all the boxes for what I'm looking for. Like, let's go sports business route and see where it takes me. So was able to develop relationships in my 4 years to school, do a few internships, and connect with the right people. And a lot of them advised me like, hey, getting into sales is a good way to get involved in sports. Not knowing obviously how much success I'd have in it. But the Sixers had opened up a job right after I graduated for entry-level sales. So very rigorous.
Right.
So very rigorous process. Went through about 4 interviews, and out of 100 and some odd reps, I was one of 6 that they hired. So very proud of that, just to get hired 6 out of over 100 folks that applied. But then from there, within 10 months, be promoted to a senior level sales role. And then that kind of goes into, where I went to next, right? So obviously was with the Flyers for a little bit. And then I got to the point where it's like, all right, I'm ready to do my own thing. Like, I want to continue to grow in my career. Like, I want to go somewhere new and see a new place in the world. Like, I was just ready to become an adult, I guess you can say. So nothing against living at home is great, but like, I want to do my own thing, and I want to build my own success, you know? So there was a job with the Rainiers that had opened up around April or so of 17, and it was predominantly a business driven role. It's all corporate sales. And like, when I worked with the Philly teams, I was fantastic at B2C. Like, I could sell your average Joe like the back of my hand. Like, I did really well with that. And I always knew like the B2B sales is where I could grow the most. Like, I was self-aware enough to know like, hey, this in my sales process, I want to continue to grow selling to businesses. So what better way to do that than go get a job that is completely corporate sales driven, where I'm driving around meeting with businesses multiple times a day. We were required in Tacoma, I think it was like 15 times a week, like three meetings a day over 5 days a week to meet with businesses. And nothing against some of these other places. Like, I had other job offers on the table like at the time, but I felt like for me to get better personally and professionally, that was the move that made the most sense for me at the time. And I wouldn't make any other decision looking back on it. Now those skills that I learned in Tacoma, skills I learned in Philly, like taking all those skills to a successful NHL product like the Blues. There's a reason why now it's going to be 3 seasons in a row that I'm number 1 on the sales leaderboard. I've now, being 9 years in the industry, like, I've seen so many things, I've done so many things, I have really a strong grasp on the sales process. It's really helped all these different experiences, these different teams. And also too, a minor league sale is so different than going back to the majors. Going from going from NBA and NHL down to the minors, where you're kind of a jack of all trades, right? You're pulling tarp, you're pitching in everywhere that you need to, and people don't care about the wins and losses in the minors. It's all about the experience and creating that memorable experience for every single client that you have, whether it's employees, clients, friends, family. You want to make sure that they're coming back to the ballpark every single year. Versus right now, like with the Blues, like we were just talking about it. We missed the playoffs last year for the first time in a while. Our fan base has gotten a little bit spoiled after the cup, where they just expect us to win a cup every year, which isn't sustainable. And our fan base is, not to say they're fair weather, but when you're not doing the best, they'll let you know. And when you're doing great, they'll let you know. So like our season ticket numbers naturally weren't as good in this last off season when you missed the playoffs versus a season that you make the playoffs and make a deep run. So that's the thing that makes it challenging, where I feel like some folks don't necessarily see that bigger picture. They're simply just looking at, oh, well, the team's not winning right now, I'm not going to sell any season tickets. Well, if you put in the time and effort, you're still going to achieve the results. It might not be as high level of a result as if we were making the playoffs, but if you build those relationships and then you develop those memorable experiences when they come out to games, and then you also keep your foot on the gas and continue to stay consistent with meetings, calls, appointments, like you'll still be successful. And I think that's another reason why I've managed to stay as successful as I have in sports, because you see people get promoted, they get a little bit complacent, and they say, oh, well, like, I've already got promoted, like I can take my foot off the gas a little bit. But I mean, I'm a senior level sales rep that's 9 years now in the industry, and just about every single week when they send out productivity reports on number one in calls, number one in talk time, being top of the leaderboard in meetings. So again, it's no coincidence that my productivity is high and then my sales number are also high. I mean, I always tell entry level folks, they ask me for advice, and I say, being in sales is like going to the gym. It's like the more reps that you put in, like the more successful that you're going to be. I mean, it's not super crazy. Never had sales experience going into my job with the Sixers, and here I am 9 years later, like consistently being a top performer at every organization that I've ever worked in. So it just goes to show, regardless of if you had sales experience or not, I mean, if you put in the time and effort, you can be successful in sales.
So let me get this right. This guy has gotten the last 2 years the Hart Trophy, overall sales department MVP. He's gotten the top overall revenue award for selling over 1.9 million in total revenue, and the Grinder Award for the hardest worker on the sales staff.
Buddy,
Bro, that's a guy that is grinding every day.
I love too that you guys call it the Hart Trophy for the MVP. Like, nice NHL take, just let that bleed over. I love that. Yeah, I love it. And you don't have to tell anybody that was for sales. You could just someday just tell people, yeah, I won the Hart Trophy. Not a big deal. So, multi-time Hart Trophy winner. So,
well, we've seen Ryan's handiwork firsthand. I mean, Ryan, when you worked with us, when you were with the Rainiers, dude, we felt like we were your only client. And I mean, that's a testament to how hard you work and how good you are at your job. I remember when Ryan took us, I don't know if it was 2017 or 2018, but he gave us a tour.
Yeah.
We walked through.
We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah, we walked onto the field and walked through different places. And it never felt like he was like, come on, I got more people to take care of it. It just felt like we were his only clients.
Right. Yeah. No, that was, I always thought you did an incredible job of just making your client feel important. And I'm sure that, that goes without saying that you're doing it there too.
Oh yeah.
I would almost think for you, and I want to get back to the Tacoma thing, but you touched on this. You guys missing the playoffs last year. We talked yesterday. When you took the job in St. Louis, first of all, my initial reaction was like, what the hell? Like, now who am I going to talk to at Tacoma? Turns out I'm going to talk to Chris Alberton. And then, like 6 months after you get there, you guys are winning the Stanley Cup.
I know.
And I'm like, man, this guy could fall in dog crap and come out smelling like roses. Like,
this guy needs to go buy a lottery.
And I remember the time going like, wow, the guy's job just got easier. Do you want to come watch the Stanley Cup champions? I suppose. But I would almost think for someone in sales that's competitive and that, that enjoys that drive and that grind, missing the playoffs and having maybe that demand start to kind of go down a little bit is almost in a way not welcome, but like an invited challenge for you to be like, okay, how good am I at my job when we don't have a playoff team that I'm promoting right now?
Yeah, no, it's all very valid points you bring up. And I look at that 6 month run from literally last place in the entire league when I started to then hoisting a cup 6 months later. I mean, our demand was absolutely through the roof. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, where just the amount of folks calling in, chatting in, like emails, like it was absolutely insane. Every single day you'd be coming in the office and they would just be like, just never ending with the amount of folks that were interested. I remember at the time we made it to the Stanley Cup, we were leveraging new full season tickets to get standing room tickets for one Stanley Cup Finals game. So it was, I think they were close to $1,500 a ticket, I believe is what we were charging at the time for one standing room ticket. So basically you would get 2 standing room tickets if you committed to, I want to say it was over 10 grand in new season tickets for that following season for 1920. So the amount of money that folks were spending, like I remember, so game 6, we actually lost to Boston. We won it in Boston in 7, but we were selling the last couple of suites we had, you had to commit to a $50,000 plus package. So it was like 5 events for 50 grand for the next season, just to get that one suite for that game 6 of the Stanley Cup. So I mean, the amount of money that folks were willing to spend, because it was, I mean, truly unprecedented. The Blues had never really got to that point. It had been a really, really long time before they'd even sniffed that. So with the way our fan base is, I mean, folks were willing to shell out the money. And then coming right after that, we talked about it a little yesterday, but then that Stanley Cup couldn't have came at a better time, because in March of 20, COVID hits. And it's one of those situations where it's a what-if situation. Blues had the best record in the Western Conference at the time. We had literally the exact same roster that we won the Cup with, and then the COVID pause happens, and wait 4 months, go to the bubble, and we get knocked out in the first round. The team just they were gelling and they were getting hot at the right time again. And it's one of those situations where we very well could have repeated if COVID wasn't a thing, but we'll never know. Yeah. But that COVID pause, where most teams really were hurting because they were losing all this revenue and fans didn't know when we were going to play. I mean, we still had a lot of fans that were anxious of when are you coming back? Are we going to have games? Are we going to have fans? Like, what is that going to look like for me? Like, sure, there was some difficult conversations, but when you're just coming off a cup and you're on a waiting list for season tickets, like there were still people that were reaching out, wanting to get on that list to buy season tickets in the middle of the pandemic. So for us, it was such a good situation to be in. And then on top of that, in February of 20, we had launched multi-year season tickets. So we're one of a handful of teams that are doing this. I know Vegas does it. I know Nashville does it. There's a handful that do it. But we decided, hey, our demand's so high, let's now incentivize folks to commit for 3 years and offer them this cost certainty where regardless of how good the team performs, your price will never go up by more than 6% in any given year in the next 3 years. So we saw overwhelming amount. It was a fantastic idea. And the fact that it came a month before COVID when all these contracts were out and people that wanted to cancel, it's like, well, you're already locked in for 3 years. What basically we did was we did not count that COVID season, which was 2021 as the first year. Yeah, correct. We just extended it out. So that kept a good portion of our full season base locked in. And we're just now starting for this year to redo those 3-year deals. And we've already seen close to, I believe, half of our full season base opt in for the next 3 years as well. Because again, the cost certainty is just makes it so much easier for people, because if you can tell them, hey, you're going to do this already for the next 3 years, like if you're coming back anyway, why would you not just sign up for 3 more years and you know you're going to be saving money year over year versus renewing annually? And it also doesn't hurt right now that the team's in a playoff spot. That's making the renewal conversations a little bit easier when the team is in a playoff spot. And the next couple of years, I mean, the Blues are projecting to have a lot of high-level prospects come up, and the salary cap should also be going up, which the last couple of years we've been a little bit tied because we've spent to the cap and we haven't had as much money to go spend. But I think in the next 2 to 3 years, the team has the ability to get back up to that level that they were in 18 to 20 where they were competing for a cup. But that's the one thing I'll say about our ownership group is St. Louis is a relatively smaller market compared to some of these bigger cities, but they are always aggressive. They always spend to the cap. And there's I think it's 3 teams. It was Pittsburgh, maybe Minnesota, that in the last decade have only missed the playoffs once. That was prior to last year when we had missed. But I mean, we're one of the models of consistency in the NHL. And our fan base understands that. But back to what I said originally is they can get a little bit spoiled, especially with all the success we've had. They are definitely expecting a Stanley Cup every year, which is not sustainable. But we do our best to put a winning product out for the fans, which is great. So,
well, I think that you talk a lot about you talk about the markets and that kind of thing, and obviously when they're talking about the NBA with basketball here, they always say, "Well, Seattle's the 12th largest market. We should have the Sonics back and all that kind of stuff." And I get all the market stuff, but I think so much of professional sports is building a sense of community with the community that supports that team. And maybe in a town that's got two professional sports franchises, the Cardinals and the Blues, it's easier. I don't know, but I think it sounds to me like the ownership group is doing everything right to make the fans feel that they're as important to the success of the team as the team is. And whether you're the number one largest market or the 50th, if the fan base is coming out and selling out and buying the gear and supporting the team, I don't think the size of the market matters. It's the relationship that the team has with its community.
Oh, exactly. And to that point, there was an article in The Athletic maybe 2 months or so ago, and it had a list of about 10 teams that are guaranteed sellouts. And the Blues were one of the teams listed on that list. I mean, almost every single game we're selling out. And even like last year when we missed the playoffs, folks were expecting this season coming in, we were going to have all this inventory. And sure, we have some inventory, but we don't have an overwhelming amount still. And that surprises some people that, oh, you missed the playoffs and we're going to have all these seats available. But it's just educating them, hey, like we're still have a majority of the fan base locked in on the full season side for 3 years. And you can't just come in and get any seat that you want in the building still. I mean, there's still a lot of interest in our fan base. Like we just had a game on President's Day at noon, and we were projecting that game to not be a great seller for us. Was most folks are, well, some folks are off. I mean, most folks are still working, and it's just hard to get a Monday game at noon. And we literally sold the entire place out. Every suite and every seat in the building was filled for a noon game on President's Day. So it just goes to show
awesome.
Again. I mean, the team continues to sell out. I mean, 18,000 plus are in here every single night, and hopefully we'll have some playoff hockey to talk about here in a few months.
Absolutely.
Now, when did the Rams leave St. Louis?
Oh, it's been 10 years, I think.
Yeah, it's been at least a decade. I want to say it was probably early 2010s. I want to say it would have been maybe like 2013, 2014, maybe somewhere in there.
Yeah. Okay, because it definitely helps. I mean, being a fall and winter sport and not having to compete with the NFL, that definitely helps. And I mean, you think about Green Bay. Green Bay's got one football team and no other sports teams, and they're a small market. But to Luke's point and to your point is, if the fans feel like the team is invested in them, the fans are going to invest in the team. And with the Seahawks up here, it's impossible to get season tickets to the Seahawks. And there was a time back in the early 90s when people couldn't give away their season tickets. Yeah. And so, when there's success, there's absolutely going to be clamoring to get season tickets. And you're right, fan bases can get very spoiled. We got spoiled when the Seahawks had their run around the Super Bowls. And
you have one rough year and they're calling for everyone.
One rough year. And fire everybody.
Get rid of that sales guy. He's not doing his job.
Well, I want to show a picture of Ryan here because this is a Butte, Clark. Look at this one right here.
Bro.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Dude, I'm on record many times over with everybody I know saying there's no better trophy in sports than Lord Stanley's Cup, dude. I don't care what fan you are of what. Give me a better looking trophy than that. I mean, that's. So did you get to drink beer at that thing or what, man?
Unfortunately, I did not, but there is several of my coworkers that did partake in those festivities, drinking out of the cup, and there was many babies that were also put in there too. It was so we actually had a day with season ticket holders that they could come take pictures with the cup, and it was hysterical every time somebody would bring in their little one putting their baby in the cup. So with our little one on the way here, we say you never know. Maybe we'll get hot and get on a run and win another cup, and then can stick her in there here in a little bit. So,
well, show the
missus. Show
who's this with you in the cup?
So that at the time was my girlfriend, which then became fiance, and then now wife. So we got married in July of 2021. So it'll be 3 years this year, which that's insane how quickly the time's going. And then I have a now 20-month-old at home named Rhett. So he'll be 2 in May. So right after our little girl, who we're naming Willa, or Willoughby, like Bully, but Willa for short. Once she's born in April, we'll be planning a second birthday in May. So between hockey season and all that, and then having a 10-pound toy poodle at home who she's a baby herself. She requires as much attention as any kid does. definitely keeps things interesting. We have a lot on our plate, but we're doing
now.
great.
Did you meet Becca up here? Is that correct?
Well, technically yes, but it's an interesting story. So I met her when I was
Let's hear all about how you outkicked your coverage, buddy. Let's hear all about it.
So met her when I was working in Tacoma, but she actually lived at the time in Illinois. So we actually had met through Instagram. So we had so we had mutual connections, and still to this day, she says she accidentally followed me, and just kind of started from there. I had sent her a message, and there was literally only one day since then where I did not message her, and she still never forgives me for that day. She's like, I remember that day. She's like, you never answered me back. But no, the rest is history. But the rest is history.
Almost screwed it up. All right.
I almost did, but the rest is history from there. So for a while there, I was going back and forth from SeaTac to Chicago's airport, like taking flights every couple of weeks. And it got, number one, very costly, and number two, very, very inconvenient. And it's like, I'm going to have to get my shit together. I'm going to have to figure this out. Because I knew at the time, I was like, I can see like, this is the person that I'm going to be with. I've got to figure it out. So when on the job hunt, was looking for jobs in that general vicinity. So looked in Nashville and St. Louis, obviously, Indianapolis, Detroit. So some cities that were in at least like a few hour radius. So it was down to St. Louis, which thank God I took this role for many reasons, obviously. Then in between that and Detroit. I both had offers from the Pistons, and then as well as the Blues. And at the time, I was very unsure as to what I was going to do, and then eventually sided with the Blues, and couldn't have worked out any better. So then I got that acceptance right before Christmas, I think like the week before Christmas of 2018, and then moved out to St. Louis in January of 19, and then rest is history. Engaged, married, kids, the whole shebang. And
so what I just heard is we have Mrs. Becca Booch to blame for us losing our sales guy here. That's what I heard. All right.
I mean, it was definitely a relationship-driven move. It was funny though when I did leave Tacoma. I mean, they had definitely tried hard to get me to stay. They're like, "Is it the money? Like, can we increase your salary? Like, what can we do?" And I was like, "No, like it's nothing on your guys' end. Like, this is a move I need to make on my end." And definitely grateful that
you don't look like this. So if you look like this, we can talk.
Well, yeah, you definitely made the right move, man.
Yeah, good for you.
I'm thinking about the Pistons, and Pistons just aren't the Pistons.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to raise a family on 8 Mile there, bud.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that Eminem hardness in you. I know I do. So, well, dude, I'm so excited for the little one coming. That's 2. That's just building a family over there. Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we just met you when you were a single guy. It's just, running around Tacoma and chasing business everywhere. So
that feels like a lifetime ago. It's crazy to think about.
It's so funny how fast time goes. So
well, with us both being fathers, me of 5, him of 4, we will tell you the advice that people gave us that we didn't listen to, and chances are you won't listen to us either. Time goes faster.
So fast.
When you have kids.
Man.
And before you know it, those kids are going to be in high school and giving you lip and talking back and I hate you and with all that to say, man, enjoy those moments with those precious, precious children, my man. Yeah. They go so fast. My oldest is now 26.
Wow.
And yesterday she was 8.
She's like your age, dude.
Yeah. So just hold them tight, man. Yeah. Oh man.
So I got a few. Let's hit some NHL questions I'm curious about.
Okay, so before you get that question, we actually have a question from
what's
Drew.
The question? Drew's of course got a question.
Drew wants to know, Ryan.
And for the record, Drew is from Massachusetts.
He's a Bruins fan.
He's a huge Bruins guy. And so when the Kraken went to Boston last year and they hadn't lost a home game all year and we just punched him in the throat, that was a good day for Rory and I to be able to talk a little trash at Drew. All right, what's the question here? With the game that fell on President's Day, I know it's here at work and watch the Bruins pull out a win against Dallas. Do you take into consideration of what fans are watching or listening to the game?
So you mean as far as like does he mean as far as scheduling games like on those sort of days? Is that?
I don't know, Drew. What do you mean there, buddy?
Yeah.
I'm a
Drew,
little
fill
lost.
us in.
Clarify.
Come on.
Well, while we're waiting for, he probably did. He's probably drinking a beer at Dunkies right now, and he's just a little out of it. He'll clarify. While we're doing that though, I'm curious as like in the sales side of things. What's your interaction with the team? Like, are you around the players a lot? Are you around like coaches and management a lot? Or are you guys, mainly separate?
Yeah, they try to keep it as separate as possible, but we of course have different events for our season ticket holders where players will be involved. So that's typically when they'll allow us to intermingle with them. Like we had an event a couple months ago, it was a photo booth sort of thing where they had 2 players assigned a different suite. And folks could kind of rotate through, snap some pictures with different players. So a couple of the players on the team, I was in their suite, and we were just shooting the shit, talking back and forth a little bit. So that's every once in a while we'll get those opportunities. Not every day, but still is pretty cool when you're walking around the office. Like I just saw the GM walk by, I think yesterday, just casually. It's like this is pretty cool seeing the GM of your team just randomly walking in the front office. So.
Now, do you have any aspirations to move over to that side of things, or are you like, no, I'm good. The sales is my calling.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said I enjoy sales and the sales process. I'd like to continue to keep selling as long as I can. Having the ability to really control every single dollar that you make every year is nice versus getting into management where you're, of course, kind of tapped with your earning potential. Which eventually, though, I would like to get to a management level because I do really enjoy like the younger folks that are just getting into the industry, kind of mentoring them, coaching them, and always makes me happy to see people that I interacted with in Philly or wherever it might be that have gotten promoted or having success with that team or different teams, knowing that, they very well may have taken away something I told them advice-wise or gave them some suggestions to help them improve. So for me, that's always something I found rewarding. So I think at some point that would be a next step for me. But for now, I'm completely content with selling and being able to control how much I bring home in a given year based on the effort that I put in is great.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine you're in that position. You'd be base plus commissions.
Yeah, correct. So they do give us a base salary, and then with the way our commission structure works, it is pretty aggressive compared to most NHL teams where they start you out with like a certain percentage, and then the closer you get to your sales goal, they retroactively back pay you. So like, for example, a few months ago when I got to 80% to my goal, then I got an extra 0.5% on everything I've already sold, and then 85, 90, 95. And then when you get to 110%, then you get an extra 1% on everything that you've sold. So really not only is your commission rate increasing every like 5% or 10% you get, but then you're also getting back paid retroactively on everything that you sold. So no, it's definitely pretty aggressive and is a very, like compared to most other teams, is a very, very fair model. Because I know there's a lot of folks and other teams that I know that they do not do the same thing. So very, very blessed for that.
No, it's like a nice bonus you get.
That is nice. That's a good setup.
Yeah. Drew says, ever meet Big Walt?
Big Walt. Not sure who that is.
Drew's on a roll, dude.
Drew, you are a hockey guy.
He says he's not drinking, but I disagree.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't know what's in the Dunkies over there, buddy. I'm going to see if I can't figure out. And then he tried to call me.
I know.
I think he's talking about Keith Kachuk.
Oh, gotcha. I have not personally met him, but I have seen him in passing. Like he was here, I know, for the All-Star game back in 2020, and every once in a while he'll come in and he'll make appearances. But no, he's one where I would like to meet him, but just have not had the opportunity to.
Just grab him in the hallway, dude. Just make sure he doesn't take a swing at you. So is the I got here. So the other one is and you hear all the rumors about what they do with the Stanley Cup and what everyone's allowed to do. Do all the players get to take it for like a week and do whatever?
So I know for us, like all the players got a day with the cup, and like some of the higher ups in the front office did as well. I think it also depended on like who the person was. But I remember that summer they documented every single player on the team like getting their dedicated time with the cup, and then the front office had like some dedicated time with the cup, and then we had a big ring ceremony, which was on opening night of that 1920 season where we got our rings and they had to cut back again. So I was fortunate enough to get a ring too. That is a very safekeeping at home.
Dude.
I bring that out on very rare occasions. So
Put that one up there.
You mean this ring right here?
Look at this guy.
Yep, there's the bling.
Oh, bro, that dude, when I saw that picture come across yesterday, I thought that is so freaking cool.
Yeah, that is really cool, man.
Dude, you have an NHL championship ring.
Yep.
Dude, I'd have that locked up somewhere. I don't know how many guns you got around that thing.
That is
but
awesome.
yeah. Oh,
now,
man.
and here's another photo of Ryan. This is when he was getting his 3 major awards there.
Yep.
Look at this guy, dude.
Our last. So that is our VP of Suite and Premium Sales to the left, and then to the right is our Chief Revenue Officer. So they were both at the awards banquet. We host that every year. Typically, it's like right before the start of the next season to recap the season that had just ended. They also had made a joke at this year's awards ceremony that the hardest worker, that grinder award, just needs to be named the Bucci Award, because I won it every single year. Because that award specifically is voted on by my peers, and there's always no question. It's like, this guy is on the phone the most, like he works the hardest, like. So I don't know, maybe they just won't make me eligible for that next year, because it's probably already a foregone conclusion that I'll get it again. Yeah. So maybe they'll just put my name on, and then just maybe allow me to hand select to the next participant.
Memorial, dude.
I love the cojones of Booch. She's she just named the award after me.
I don't know if you've seen my resume, but I love that, dude. So what's your schedule like, dude? Are you getting enough time at home with the family? I'm sure you're busy, both during season and off season, generating sales. But do you get enough time to be at home, or how many hours you putting in a week?
Yeah, I've tried my best to keep as much of a work-life balance as possible. I mean, during the season, it's a little bit tougher. So like a night like tonight where there's a game, like I probably am not getting home till 9 o'clock. So not ideal, but the flexibility I'd say that they offer us is nice, where I won't necessarily work every single game. And like when I was in Tacoma or other teams, like they're basically requiring you to be at every game. Like they do understand, because this is a more seasoned staff for a lot of like management, and some of the reps are a little bit older. So they have a little bit of a better understanding of like, hey, like having kids and having a family, like we're a little bit more generous with like, we're not going to have you work every game. Like, go at home, be at home with your family. So, I mean, an average day for me is usually like 8:30 to 5, like when there's not a game. Like other jobs I've worked way past 5. But the thing is now it's like I'm just more efficient with my time. Like I try my best between 8:30 and 5. Like they're my money hours. Like what am I doing between 8:30 and 5 to maximize my day and produce as much revenue as possible, where obviously there is one-off situations where me may have to close the deal after hours, but I try my best to have those boundaries set and let people know like, hey, this is when I'm available, and leave me a message. I'll get back to you when I can in the morning. But that's something for me. I've really tried to make it a priority, especially after having my son and then having another one on the way. It's nothing against like doing what I do, but you can easily get down the rabbit hole of putting in a lot of extra hours and time. It's very easy to do that. I'm a victim of it, or a culprit of it, I guess you could say, at other jobs before. But for me now, that's something I made it a point to spend more time with the family, because again, that work's still going to be there for me when I come back in the next day. And I'm still producing in a very high level, not putting in the same level of hours that I was before. It's just being more efficient with my time, I'd say. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we run across that in the real estate industry all the time, where you can go down those rabbit holes, and before you know it, everybody's gone to bed, and you got to wake up in 4 hours.
Yeah,
yeah.
We got very good years back of, which it's funny. My first, I would say 5 to 10 years in the industry, I didn't do as much because you're worried about losing business. We get to the point of it, like you said, setting those boundaries. My voicemail says, if it's after 6, I'll call you tomorrow. And it's amazing how many people really respect it. And they're more apt to be like, you know what? I appreciate that he's spending time with his family. We can talk tomorrow. It's not that big of a deal. So good for you, man, for learning that earlier rather than later. So I'm sure Becca appreciates you having you home. So
yes, especially right now where we're getting into the terrible tooth phase very badly with our little guys. The temper tantrums are real. Putting him to bed right now is a very big struggle. So the brushing of the teeth too. That's a very big one. He hates getting the teeth brushed right now.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. My son, my youngest, is 7. And that hasn't stopped yet. I'm like last night I said, hey, Maverick, go brush your teeth. He's like, Roger that, Dad. He heads down the hallway. I'm looking down the hallway a minute later. I'm like, the light's not on in the bathroom. I go into his room. He's in there dinking around. So I go, dude, go brush your teeth. And he's like, he goes into the bathroom. A couple minutes later, he walks in. He's got his toothbrush in his hand, no toothpaste on it. I was like, dude, have you brushed your teeth? And he's like, no. And he's got one of those timers, like the sand timers. I'm like, you got to go for 2 minutes. So he's holding that in one hand and the toothbrush in the other, but not brushing his teeth. And I'm like, what do we got to do? What do I got to bribe you with to get you to put toothpaste on that thing and brush your teeth? So good luck. Yeah. My buddy Mike says, good morning, gentlemen, and Luke. Yeah, that's about right.
That's about right.
Drew says, I'm an aircraft auditor and amateur Zamboni driver and ice crew for the local junior team Lincoln Stars. How can I take that to the next level?
I think the Blues might be hiring. Maybe come on down to St. Louis. Might have a spot for you. That's
there you go, dude.
Next level.
Oh, dude, threaten this guy with a good time. If he had a way to be,
I can see
at the hockey rink
hopping in the car from Nebraska and heading right over there. He just lives over there in Nebraska.
The fact that he has a normal job is mind blowing to me. He's not somewhere at a hockey rink every day. So. What else we got, man? I'm trying to think of any other questions. I don't want to keep you all day, but it's fascinating.
I got one more picture here, and I'm curious as to what this is a picture of.
Calling me.
Oh, yeah.
So that's Ryan.
Yeah, that's the Western Conference Champion Trophy. I believe it's I think it's the Clarence Campbell, I want to say, is what the name of the trophy is. But yeah, that's we had a little impromptu celebration after we won the Western Conference right before the Stanley Cup, and they let us get pictures with it. So that night I remember was just as crazy as winning the Stanley Cup. I mean, because that's, again, it's unprecedented for us to have gotten to that point.
Yeah,
I'll never forget. My inbox, and it was 10, 11 p.m. My inbox just flooding with all messages and calls of hey, how can I get Stanley Cup tickets? How can I get Stanley Cup tickets?
Oh my gosh, I almost called you for Stanley Cup tickets. Even your conference championship trophies are cooler than most professional sports trophies. I don't know what drunken Zamboni driver designed all the trophies for the NHL, but well done, dude. Just well done. So, gosh, I think that's about all. I know he's going to be busy tonight. He's got a big game. Oh, one more. So when you guys won back 5 years ago, were you in Boston for it?
So I could have been. They had to flow out some of the staff. Just there were some different things that were going on at the time that prohibited me from being there. But yeah, they did pay for a decent amount of the staff to go up to Game 7, watch the win. Nice. But one of my biggest memories though I have is just when we walked in the parade, walking down Market Street here, and they had all the front office walking, and the players of course followed suit right behind us, and they had a big stage set up downtown by the Arch. And yeah, it's one of those things where I look back at old pictures from that, and it's one of those things that will just always stick with me. And just seeing thousands and thousands of people pack the streets, just watching you march down Market Street here is just a phenomenal opportunity, and hopefully we'll do it again one day.
Well, I'll tell you what, after seeing all the Chiefs players that were passed out drunk in the street, I'm proud of you, bud, for not ending up on national television for any kind of debauchery that might have brought embarrassment to you or the missus. Golly. So, all right, man. Well, dude, thanks so much for coming on, bro.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, we're he was like, I talking to him yesterday. He was like, you guys ever come out here, man? We'll give you the full meal deal. And I'm like, threaten me with a good time, bro. I'll be on a plane on Friday, and I'll business expense that thing somehow.
When we're done with the show, I'm going to go find a real estate conference in St. Louis.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can expense that too.
Yeah,
I'm sure they've got plenty.
Our name will be on the roster, but it'll be like Bueller. Sorry, we are at the rink right now, drinking out of Lord Stanley's cup. So, all right, man. Well, hey, congratulations to you and all your success, bro. We're super proud of you, man.
Thank you.
You know, so happy for you with the new one on the way. They got a boy and a girl. I'm going to tell you right now, having a daughter is going to F up your life, bro. It's just going to F up. Everything you thought you knew and were in control of is now out the window. I watched my 15-year-old last night walk down the sidewalk and reach over and hold the hand of her boyfriend, and I almost murdered somebody. I didn't even know I had that streak in me. So that was just last night. I almost went to jail.
Well, I will say you're not the first person that's told me that. So
it's having a boy is great. Don't get me wrong, but having a girl is this whole different level of that whole girl dad thing's a real deal. So we're excited for you, man. So
thank you guys.
All right, well,
man, good to see you, Booch.
Yeah, really good to see you.
Don't be a stranger. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, if you come on up, I'll take you to a Rainiers game, bud.
Yeah, it's on the bucket. It's on the bucket list. Funny enough, is going to Tacoma and going to a Rainiers game. Because the wife's never been in Tacoma. Obviously, like I've got all these stories from being in Tacoma. So that's the plan. It's just the kids get a little bit older and can travel much more easily. We like to get up that way. So I know if we're ever down in that area, we'll have to take you up on that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, man. You take care of yourself. Give our best to the missus.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
See you, Booch.
Bro, that was awesome.
That was awesome, dude.
That was so cool to catch up with him.
So glad he's doing so good, man. He's such a good guy. And honestly, just like genuinely a great guy.
I think I can take these out.
I think I can. Hopefully, because it's driving my ear nuts.
Yeah, mine kept on trying to fall out. I may have to wear the big headphones next time we do that.
Yeah, I'm just Drew, best guest ever. Yeah, I know. Just passed you up, buddy. And the thing I genuinely say about Booch is just such a good guy. Like, I have so many pictures of like when we were out there, like the girls are down in the dugout, before, or in Maverick was like a baby, and like they're on the field and just excited and just, like he said, he just made us feel like we were number one. So
well, I got a Christian Morden jumps on here and he says, I saw that it's Rory's wife's 22nd birthday. Happy birthday, Christy. She has held on to her youth well. Well, I got to tell you something, Christian.
Which is astonishing, being married to Rory, says Crab.
Yeah, what I got to tell you is you spelled her name wrong. So you could be murdered in your sleep for spelling her name wrong.
Don't let her sweet demeanor fool
But
you.
yeah, Mike Crab says Christian Morden, which is astonishing, being married to Rory. Which I've got two middle fingers for you, Crab. It's like the pot calling the kettle black.
Is he wrong?
Oh, but wait a second. Pot calling the kettle black. That can't be right because I'm married. Oh, come on, Crab.
I don't know who's smarter. I don't know if that was your best argument.
She puts up with me. So
Crab still has an exit strategy that's solid.
We talk about marrying up. I married up. There he goes. Look at that. I remember Christy Pitts when she was in high school, and she looks the same as she did back then. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. This guy.
I was about to say. What happened?
I'm sure that makes Krista feel good.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Well, I am twice the man I used to be. Yes, Christy. She found the fountain of youth, and I'm just so happy.
If it wasn't for the couple of gray wispies that she has,
oh my gosh,
I would have no idea she'd cross 30. So
I know.
Yeah,
I know. But yes, again, happy birthday, honey. I don't think you're going to watch this show because you are smart.
Yeah.
And intelligent. It would not stoop to the level of this trash.
And you don't like us at all. So
yeah.
Either one of us.
Yeah. But if by chance you do see this, happy birthday. Happy 22nd birthday.
Absolutely.
I don't dare say how old she is.
No,
I'm not a dumb man.
No.
I may be a dumb man on some things, but not that.
Happy birthday, Christy.
Oh, my goodness.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Well, is there anything else we really need to address or talk about? I feel like there's like one thing, and I can't. I was trying to think about this. You know what? You think while I give a quick plug to the awesome people here at Electric Coffee House.
Yeah.
They've got the food menu right there.
Oh, this is just some drink menus.
Oh, is that the drink menu?
Okay. Some good ones, though.
But,
the espresso pepperminty.
Grab yourself an embroidered beanie.
Listen to some of these names.
Okay, let's do this.
The Electric Marg.
Oh.
Then margarita.
Oh.
Then me amaro, which is whiskey and Amaretto. Yeah. Cup of cheer. Espresso peppermintini.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. The wintertime blues. The mimosa flight. The cola shoulder. The tropical winter. Dude, you guys got to get down here and check some of these out. Thanks again here to Tina and her staff. They are the best. Putting up with our garbage back there every week. Love you. Get down. They got food. They got beverages, coffee, and alcoholic beverages.
And every once in a while, you get to hear the train right on the other side of this wall.
And you feel like you're in a game.
You feel like it's going to hit you.
Did you see? I know. I'm always like bracing.
I know. I'm like, Lord, is it going to be this time?
Is today the day? It's today the day.
I've seen The Fugitive. I know how trains go off tracks.
Don't turn left. Well, I sent you an article last night.
Yes, and I didn't read it.
Now let me give you the rundown. Which is funny because if he sends me something and I'm like, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, he just stares at me with the most disdain.
Yes.
I'm going to try to be an example of what I expect Rory to be like in the future. I'll just give you the quick rundown because this is something that we had talked about a little bit. Was it seemed weird, like Nick Saban all of a sudden just like everyone expected him to stay the coach at Alabama, and all of a sudden he was gone. And there were some rumors out there that Nick Saban had grown tired of the college football landscape, the NIL, all that kind of stuff. Well, straight from the horse's mouth, he was tired of the NIL and the college football landscape. So,
whoa, what the hell did
I don't even know, but
there?
we'll give him one of these.
How did that happen?
How
did we do balloons?
I have no idea.
How did we do balloons?
Give him the
sky rockets in flight.
Woo! Afternoon delight. All right. People in the front are like looking back here. What is going on?
What the hell's wrong with those guys? Exactly.
I'll have what he's having.
What do they put in that coffee? How did the balloons happen?
I don't know. That was crazy. We got to look all this up. You're going to do fireworks again.
Okay, so Two Thumbs does that.
Yeah.
Katy Perry. I don't look like Katy Perry. I don't have the
I wish you did.
Listen. Okay, thumbs up. Come on, thumbs up. There we go. Oh.
I don't know.
I don't know how Chris is going to feel about that.
I don't know either. All right. So,
sorry.
Listen.
Nick Saban.
Yeah, he essentially came out last night. The article hit ESPN, and he said college football is not college football anymore. We've gone from the student athlete to, this is out of his mouth, to essentially no one caring about the education they get, to how much money can we make these kids in college.
Oh, he's about ready to ruffle some feathers.
Yeah, and he literally said, this has been on my mind the last few years. I couldn't say anything as a coach because I couldn't let it look like I was complaining from a system that may or may not benefit our team. He's right. But you have boosters out there essentially trying to figure out how to make kids more money versus get them an education. And something's got he's like, something's got to change. And if my 7 national titles and reputation in college football can be a voice to fix this, then that's what I want to do with the rest of my time.
It's going to be interesting because I had read that if I remember this correctly, the NCAA, what do they call him? A commissioner, president?
NCAA chairman, I think. Yeah, commissioner, whatever.
He basically had an interview the other day that said, and I'm paraphrasing, all you people bitching about how the system is set up, I don't care. And the reason is because if coaches can hop from program to program to program, why can't these kids do the same thing?
Because they're professionals, not amateurs.
Right. And I mean, that's the point you can bring up. Yeah. But I think it's going to be a very interesting fight to take a look at because you've got a heavy hitter. You got a Hall of Fame. Like, he should be in the Hall of Fame right now.
Let me give you an example of why his voice means more in this.
Oh, I have to agree with Crab on this one.
NCAA is worthless.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And let me give you an example of why his voice is going to mean more in the long run on this whole thing. Not one of us in this conversation is like, who is the coach at Alabama?
Right.
But we were both just like, what's his name? The commissioner of the NCAA? Anyways, that idiot. Nobody cares. Like, I mean, of course he's going to say that. But, and we've said this before, the pendulum swung so far in the NIL. It's got to come back and level out some.
Yeah.
And if Nick Saban is a driving force behind that, more power to him.
Right, and it's just bringing some sanity and some common sense to it. It's exactly like you said. It swung so far one way. We don't want to go back to the way it was, but the way it is right now is it's not working. And I know you Husky fans, you're going to say, well, you guys are Cougs, and so that's what you get. We lost one player to the transfer portal, and it was Cam Ward, who was considering going into the NFL, but at the end of it, he decided to go play for Miami. I don't know what that means. I'll be interested to see how it plays out next fall. But it's just something has to change because, and let's talk about the Huskies for a second. The Huskies had so many players bail because the coach left.
Yeah, I think that if you are one of these big programs, I think almost you want the reform to come more.
Yes, look at what Drew said. I watched this interview, and it was such a good interview. Trent Dilfer said something about that while coaching UAB, and he brought up the point of, hey, this is the way it is now. We just have to figure out a way to work around it. We're not going to be able to go after those athletes at Alabama or Michigan or anything like that. Yeah. We just have to be smarter and think things through a little bit more. And that's kind of been the Cougar approach when this stuff wasn't going out of control, is you got to find those diamonds in the rough. You got to find those players that will be successful in spite of the transfer.
No, the problem is that for the longest time, a lot of those programs, like let's just say the Cougs in football or the Zags in college basketball, their bread and butter was, okay, we're not recruiting the 5-star player.
Right.
We're recruiting the 3-star player who we think we can get to there over 2, 3, 4 years.
Yep.
Now, the problem is that what you're starting to see, what you're seeing in football big time, and you're going to see it in basketball even more, is that 3-star player, okay, his sophomore year's done. Now he was just first team all WCC or something like that. And he's like, well, I could go to USC and make some money. And so you're going to start taking away from those mid-major programs that make runs in March and basketball and that kind of thing. Or the Boise States who, in college football end up knocking off powerhouses. And
could you imagine if when Boise State had their run in the late 90s and early 2000s, could you imagine if the transfer portal was there?
Oh gosh,
we would not see some of those amazing moments in college football history.
And that's the thing, man. It's going to have to. Crab said kids aren't playing for schools anymore. There's no loyalty. No, there's not. It's brutal.
Well, it's Crab. We saw this growing up. We saw this with baseball. We really saw it with baseball, and then we saw it with the NFL, and then we saw it with the NBA. How many damn teams has Kevin Durant played for?
Well, and it's really only going to affect in college. It's going to affect two things: college football and college basketball. It's not going to affect college baseball the way it is now, because no one really name the best college baseball player in America. I'll wait. You know what I'm saying? And it's it's nothing against it, but baseball is just set up so differently, and some of the best players in the country are coming out of high school, like Bryce Harper and stuff like that. So it's a different setup. It's not going to affect. It's not going to affect volleyball or college soccer or college hockey like that. It's going to affect the ones that are on television all the time, including girls basketball at this point. And so something's got to give. And I'm glad to hear a guy like Coach Saban come out and say, I'm not a fan. It's got to change, and I'll spend my days trying to bring a change about. So.
I like what Christian says here. That is exactly the way Coach Chris Peterson left the UW Huskies. He could not stomach or embrace what was ahead with NIL. And I hope Coach Peterson speaks up too.
Joins that conversation.
Joins the conversation on that. Yeah. Because it's really sad to think that, he didn't stay with the Huskies, which as a Cougar, I'm happy he left. Yeah. Well,
or he just stayed as a coach in college football. He's a great coach.
He's not a coach.
Yeah, he's
not a coach right now. Yeah. And that guy can get almost any program right now, and he's not a coach.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Crab says there has to be regulations. There has to be limits on money time transferred. Yeah, I absolutely agree too. Yeah. You have to have those parameters in place. Drew says UAB doesn't have the booster money like Bama. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think UAB would just love to have the interest off the booster money that Bama has.
Yeah, it's gonna. I heard an interview. Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, does a podcast like every week, and they're fun. They're cool because they're never longer than 30 minutes, and they'll have a guest on. And so, like a month or two ago, we had Caitlin Clark on.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, she's going to take up the whole half hour, right? It's Caitlin Clark. She was on for maybe 12 minutes.
Okay.
Like, it was great. Some hard-hitting questions. Coach K praises her. They talk about a couple things, and then, they call it. So, and even she said, everyone who keeps putting her as being the number one pick in the WNBA draft this year is assuming that she's going to leave college and forego that last year of eligibility that she has, still from the COVID stuff. And she said it out loud. She's like, going to the WNBA doesn't mean I make more money.
Wow.
I mean, she was.
Wow.
Yeah, she was just like, she talked about her Gatorade sponsorship and all that.
Yeah.
She's like, I could stay in college, chase another national title, get more education, and play with my best friends for another year, and still make the money. So what's the point? So she's like, the money has nothing to do with it. 10 years ago, that was a discussion, right? Like, well, do I risk another year and injury?
Oh yeah.
And that's just not part of it anymore. It's,
Drew says, wonder how much these kids are going to make off of when EA launches NCAA college football 2025 this summer. Yeah. What is it? I heard that they get like $600 and a copy of the game for all the athletes that participate.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll throw this name out there. Arch Manning.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? I gained a lot of respect for Arch and the Manning family last week when, the starting quarterback from Texas last year, what's his last name? Ehlers or whatever. He decided he's coming back. And he'll be the starter again. And Manning last year was a true freshman. And all indications everyone was talking about was, well, Manning's gone. Yeah, he's going to go to Bama. He's going to go to USC. He's going to go somewhere else where they're going to give him a ton of money, and he's going to get to start right away. Now, maybe because he's part of the Manning family, the money doesn't mean anything to him.
Right.
But I was impressed that he was like, no, I want to play football at Texas, and so I'm prepared to learn another year, and then once he's gone, make the move.
Kid's got a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah, and I don't know if that comes from the family or what, but I was impressed. Like, even the Manning family, like Eli came out and was like, why would he go anywhere? This is where he wants to be. This is the coach he wants to play for. This is where he feels he can get better.
Isn't that funny that statement is now shocking?
I know. I'm just like, but I'm like, good for him for making that decision to be like, no, this is where I'm gonna. And you don't know. Like he even said, he's like, I don't know what's gonna happen. What if game one, our quarterback goes down and they need me and I want to be here. Like,
right.
What if I go down to injury? Like,
right.
So it's I like it.
Crab says, question: how much longer does the NBA subsidize the WNBA? Is there anything that WNBA can do to be a viable entity? Good question for you.
That's a great question, and I think it's coming in the next year or two. I think Caitlin Clark, and not to put pressure on Caitlin Clark, but I was looking at statistics the other day, and when they were basically Jensen, we're going to talk about you, buddy. Another 20 years, but who knows? See, and I think the opposite. I think they're going to be extremely viable. They were just showing, and this was before she was even close to breaking the NCAA scoring mark. This was like a month ago. I was looking at these statistics. And example, when they were going to play at like Illinois or something like that, the Illinois girls basketball team drew like 3,500 or 4,000 fans a game on average.
Right.
When Caitlin Clark was in town, 18,000. And that's been everywhere she goes.
And you know what? And to that point, that's why the athletes should get some kind of payment.
Yeah.
Because they are drawing the gate. They're drawing people to the gate to come see the game.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that she is going to be that token piece to kind of elevate the WNBA. Now, and here's the other part of it. I had a great discussion with a parent about this the other day. The effects of the passing of Kobe Bryant are being felt in women's basketball now. He was the champion for women's basketball and had all these plans to help them grow more teams and provide more opportunities. And with him passing away, no one has really picked up that baton yet. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to take, and I think that person will show up. like a guy like Shaquille O'Neal has kind of started to talk about, like, okay, maybe it's a Hall of Famer from the men's side like that, like Kobe was doing, that needs to step in and be like, okay, how do I help? How do I push the game? How do I financially sponsor this growth? Because I think it's happening. Who's the WNBA's biggest star right now? Well, it's Caitlin Clark, and she's not even there yet.
Yeah, she's not even in the NBA, WNBA.
Honestly, right now it's Breonna Stewart, it's Ionescu. Trying to think of who else would be bigger than those two right now.
You're kind of proving Crab's point.
No, I mean I could go down lists all day,
right?
Because I watch it, but I'm just saying I think those two are the biggest names in it right now,
right?
So, Aja Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Vegas, because they've won twice in a row.
Yeah,
so.
And the thing is you're fully ingrained into that right now, with Maddie and with Lainey.
Yeah.
But the average sports fan, like this clown right here, I couldn't tell you. Like when you said Breonna Stewart, is it Stewart?
Breonna Stewart, yeah.
Okay, so she said that name, like, oh yeah, her. She plays for New York. Yeah. Only reason I know that's because she used to play for Seattle, and then she went over there.
I have the benefit, and you just hit it on the head of being ingrained with the girls. I have the benefit of seeing what's going on in the grassroots youth movement in girls basketball right now, and seeing that, and how when I go to Indianapolis and I walk into a gym and there's 6 courts and there's 150 scouts from every major school across the country sitting on the baseline, and it's packed, and I look around the outside and I'm like, oh, there's Derek Fisher. Oh, there's Zach Randolph. Oh, there's Gilbert Arenas. And they're here to watch the girls. That, to me, speaks volumes of the direction it's going. And I think that last year was the first year we started to see that effect. You had first-round draft picks in the WNBA get cut and not make the team they were drafted to because there's not enough teams in the WNBA. There's 12 of them, I believe, right now to handle the influx of talent that's coming up from the youth, high school, college ranks. And as this talent starts to flood in, they're going to be forced to grow. And I think at that point, you're going to see a lot more people getting behind stuff.
And the thing is, and this is the delicate balance that we have to discuss is, you might have an influx of more ladies becoming available for the WNBA, but are there teams that are financially viable to bring on those ladies?
And that's what we're going to have to I think what we're going to be dealing with in the next 5 to 10 years.
Because my other question was going to be, do they have to shut some teams down in order to make it more efficient and then grow it? Or I don't know. I mean,
so they used to have 16 teams and they have shut down to 12.
Okay.
And then I think that was part of it, shed some of the dead weight kind of stuff. The teams they have now are pretty viable. They drive a good amount of people. And now it's going to be, I think, from this point forward in the next 5 to 10 years is growing it smartly in cities that can support it and will support it. And they are going to ride on the back of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, Cam Brink, some of these girls that have a huge following in the college game. It's honestly those 3 coming into the draft this next year is the best present you can give to professional.
Well, and the next thing the WNBA is going to have to do is they're going to have to figure out their marketing, because to Crab's point, what did he say right here? What I understand is who's the WNBA's biggest star. We're all going to know Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
But the thing is you need a renaissance that we saw in the NBA in the 80s. Yeah. To boost up the WNBA, because the marketing right now, I don't want to say it sucks.
No, it does.
But the average sports fan does not know. I couldn't even tell you what the teams are.
I think you're starting to see a couple of things. One, you're starting to see some of these girls get their own, and this is going to follow with better marketing. They're getting their own shoes. Ionescu has her own shoe now. Breonna Stewart has her own shoe now. In fact, Steph Curry wears the Ionescus sometimes to play in, and so that kind of stuff helps, right? And so the more you see those kind of things, them getting shoe deals and those kind of things, and giving young women a chance to latch on to some stuff, the more you're going to see, I think, that their game starts to take off and grow. Jensen, think back to the NBA prior to Bird and Magic. Yeah, and what happened? Converse went out and gave Bird and Magic their own shoe, which was the preemptive I mean, that was kind of like the turning point and the starting point for the Jays, right? Jordan getting his shoes, and what happened from there, and that's become obviously a cultural phenomenon. So I think it's coming. Brianna Stewart should be everywhere. She is a monster. It's absolutely. So is Aja Wilson. Like, and I do think I see it more because I'm so involved in it.
Yep.
But it's starting to get better.
Yep.
What was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, 2K basketball started last season with adding the WNBA. Yeah, we have it. The girls play WNBA on 2K all the time. They love doing that. I was going to say, who's Maddie's favorite college basketball player? It's funny you say that. She loves watching Caitlin Clark, who doesn't. But I think the player she watches, or that she tries to see herself in players, right? She's like, well, Caitlin Clark's not my game.
Right.
So what's her name? Pilly out of Utah, who's 6'2", bruising post, who will get drafted in the WNBA this year. Like, she likes to watch players like that because she's like, okay, she plays like me. Like, I can, that's more my speed. So she loves watching. And honestly, from the boys' side, she's always loved watching Drew Timme, because she's like, Drew Timme makes every post that just works on footwork and isn't the most explosive athlete in the world excited about playing basketball. So,
well, let me flip the conversation now.
Okay.
And I'm going to flip the conversation. I'll kind of use Nathan here as a springboard. The explosion of growth in the NBA took well over a decade. It absolutely did.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, what has happened to the NBA? Because this past weekend they had the All-Star game, and you had over 300 points, nearly 400 points scored in that game.
Yeah.
And you got Stephen A. Smith, which I think is an ass, but sometimes he has a point.
Yeah.
And he was saying that it was absolutely atrocious what they're doing with the All-Star game now, and how there's no defense, and it's just a shooting contest for 4 quarters. And it begs the question, the bigger picture.
Yes, it was, Nathan. The dumpster fire. Correct.
The bigger picture is, what has happened to the NBA? Like, when we were kids growing up, you guys, we would watch the Lakers. We would watch the Celtics. It was must-see TV to see Jordan. I mean, we were ingrained in it.
Yeah.
And I find myself as a 48-year-old curmudgeon old man, not giving 2 craps about it.
You know what I think? And this is just kind of coming to me. I think part of it has to do with how much players jump around from team to team now and chasing championships. When I was my favorite All-Star game ever was, I was 12 years old. It was 1992. It was Magic Johnson's last All-Star game. I've watched that All-Star game probably 50 times in my life.
That was remarkable.
Yeah. And but the thing is that you still had a time when every year you knew that on the West All-Star team was going to be Magic Johnson and James Worthy and
Karl Malone,
John Stockton, Dan Marley, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So like Clyde Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, right? That was the West.
Yes.
And in the East, it was going to be Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas and Scottie Pippen and Patrick Ewing. All these, Alonzo Mourning in the later 90s. Like, you had, and it was like that every year.
Yeah.
And Magic Johnson didn't just want to beat Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals. He also wanted to beat him in February at the All-Star game.
Yep.
And there was pride in beating the East. There was pride in the East beating the West. And I think a lot of that had to do with this. These star players went to a team and they stayed with that team.
For the most part, yeah.
I remember it being a shock when Charles Barkley left the Sixers to go to the Suns.
Right.
We were like, what the hell? You don't leave a team? Like,
right. Right.
And even looking back on that, I'm like, it's just 2 teams. He played for the Sixers for a long time, and then the Suns, and he was an all-star both places, and his numbers retired both places. Now you got these guys, the Kawhi Leonards, the KDs, the Russell Westbrooks, always playing for 5 teams in 4 years, and it takes away, I think, a little bit from the product of the loyalty to East versus West, and wanting to beat those other teams. And then they started messing with it with, we're going to do the draft and all this. And I think it takes away from the players taking it seriously. I mean, there's no pride in wanting to go out and win. They just don't care.
No.
So
what do we got here? Let's jump on this one right here. You said it earlier.
Dumpster fire.
The All-Star game was a dumpster fire. Crab says, like Steph Curry, I see kids at open gyms firing up 60-footers, and I want to punch them in the face. You're not Steph Curry. Dude is one of one. Yes, absolutely.
When I see clips of a professional athlete doing a layup drill for over 20 minutes, calling it a game, that reinforced my disgust. Yeah, it's just like they just get out of the way and let them do dunk contests and all that. Right. I'm like, no, that's why we watched the dunk contest and the skills challenge. Let's see a game. And I'm not saying like in like the game in 1992 that I'm talking about, I'm not saying there was all the defense in the world. I think the score was like 152 to 120 something.
Right, and that's a normal all-star game.
But you also have the greatest athletes in the game playing. You expect it to be higher scoring. But there was still – I remember one part in the game late where Magic Johnson D'd up it started with one person, and then it switched over to Isaiah Thomas.
Yep.
And he stopped Isaiah. And then Michael Jordan came down, and he was like pointing at Magic. Magic's like, I got him. And then I remember, I think it was Kenny Albert. He was like, they're all taking a shot at the Magic Man tonight. And then he was trying to shut down, Jordan. And when he forced Jordan into a jumper and he missed, he held up his hand and like triumph and got the rebound and went down the floor and then buried a three. Like there was some gamesmanship still. And there's just not that anymore.
And, and that's one thing Stephen A. Smith said was these players today are scared for that social media quick 15-second or 10-second clip where they get schooled.
Yeah.
And, I can't have that because I have too much pride instead of, okay, I got my ass beat on that one. But I'm going to get back after it. Yeah, it happens in a game.
To everybody. Boys, if the Bruins and the Celtics are at the same time, I'm choosing the Bruins over the Celts, but would turn into the game during commercial breaks and intermission. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Legendary moments in all sports are forged through intense struggle, not laid back laughter, which is you're spot on, gents.
Yeah.
What's next?
Drew says the All-Star game is used as players trying to get other All-Star players to come play with them on their team. That's a good point. That's it's almost like politics in DC.
Yeah. Crab says, good point. It's a recruiting convention. And you know what? To this point, and I'll put this out there to you guys, and I know I can count on Mike because he's got daughters that are playing sports, but like I don't watch the NBA anymore, which is sad. I used to love the NBA.
I used to love it.
I haven't watched one game this year, and we're well past the halfway point. I haven't. Occasionally, there'll be like highlight clip of something that Luka or Doncic did, where I'm like, let me see Luka at 51 tonight. I want to see because I think some of those guys are incredible, but I just don't watch it anymore. I watch a lot of college basketball. I watch a lot of girls basketball, and I would challenge all of you to support girls sports.
Absolutely.
I mean, we used to joke when we were young, Mike and I, and us basketball players, the girls' game is boring. No, it's not. I'll be the first to tell you I was wrong. They play the game the right way, and they play with a lot of passion, especially at the younger levels. Like you can find me on any given weekend in a gym somewhere watching a girls' game, even if it's not my kids. I genuinely enjoy it, and those of us who have daughters, especially, we need to encourage our daughters in their sports. We need to watch their sports, not just, my daughter plays basketball. Let's watch the Lakers tonight. No. We're watching the Sparks, and we're watching UW women's basketball. We're watching girls play because I'm supporting what they do and showing them that this is possible. I'm interested in what you do, not just because you do it. And so I would say that for everybody, and those of you who don't have kids, Nathan, and those we want to see women's sports get better, and it's up to us as men, especially, to say, no, we enjoy the women's game. We're going to promote it. We're going to be like, hey, did you see what Caitlin Clark did last night?
And you know what? And to that extent, with your eyes and with your dollars, entice them to want to be better.
Yeah.
I mean, don't just watch just because, but watch because you want them to be better. You want their sport to be better. You want them to grow. And challenge them.
Yeah.
And, say, for example, when Mike and a couple other people have gone to see Maddie play, the gym is fairly full.
Yeah.
That's got to be an encouragement to the team, because if the team starts losing or they're not playing fundamental basketball or they're just out of control, well, I'm not going to go see the game.
Yeah.
I'm going to go watch something else.
Yeah.
And so challenge them to be better. I was the same way. When I first came to Maddie's game, I think it was 3 years ago, I was blown away. I thought to myself, holy crap, they are playing fundamental basketball. This is the stuff that that we were taught back in school. Mr. Nutman taught us the fundamentals of playing basketball.
Pick and roll, give and go, backdoor cuts.
Yeah, and to watch the ladies do that versus the guys, and I don't want to beat up the boys basketball too much.
I will.
But it's a lot of showboating.
Well, you know, it's funny, as Coach Elliott and I have had this conversation. Nars, and we sat here and had this conversation with Nars. Like, most coaches that I know, and I'm one of them, once they've coached in the girls' game, don't go back to the boys' game. And I asked Elliott about it one time, and he was like, I was like, what's your reason? And he said, here's the difference. Coaching the boys' game, you deal with the ego on the floor and not much off-court stuff, right? He goes, but it's the ego on the floor.
Yeah.
He goes, girls' game, no ego on the floor. I have to deal more with their emotional side off the floor. And he goes, you know what? If me coaching means I have to deal with more of the emotional stuff off the floor and I get to be a positive presence in that young girl's life, I'll take that any day of the week rather than dealing with the boys' egos on the floor. Yeah. And it's, don't get me wrong, the girls do have egos and they want to beat on their chest sometimes, and they want to be noticed, and they deserve to be noticed. But when I watch Maddie and Laney's club teams, and you have all these girls out there that are going to play college basketball, and they don't care for the most part whether they score 4 points or 18 points, as long as they're winning and their teammates are doing well, that's fun. Like that's encouraging.
Well, and you just said something a little bit ago about Caitlin Clark on Dr. K. Dr. K.
Coach K.
Coach K's podcast. How many NBA player or not NBA players? How many college men's basketball players would you hear say, "Oh, who's to say I'm going to go to the NBA? Who's to say I'm going to go to the draft? I might come back and play with my friends."
Yeah.
You don't hear that in the men's game, not one bit. But in the ladies' game, it's like they build that camaraderie, which we don't see in the men's game.
No.
Think about the Fab. Was it the Fab Four?
Fab Five at Michigan.
Fab 5 in Michigan, yeah.
Weber, Rose, all those guys, yeah.
Yeah, it just you don't.
Yeah.
We could beat, and the thing is, we're not men haters, obviously. Yeah. We're in the club.
Not yet. We're working on it.
But something has to change.
Jen says, when I used to play rugby, hands down, the women's matches were always more intense. Yeah, the women have so much to bring to sports, and I think it's long overdue that they get the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah.
And I think, too, in girls' sports, and I think, to go back to Crab's point, like, who's the star, right? Maddie would get mad at me because I run the social media for Phillip High School. And I would put things out there because we want to get fans in there. I'd be like, hey, this is one of your last chances to watch two-time all-league first team, number one ranked center in the state, Maddie Weaver. Don't miss your chance. She's like, Dad, it's embarrassing. And I'm like, this is what puts people in the stands. Like, not that you're Caitlin Clark, but you're right now the Caitlin Clark of the Viking girls basketball team. Like, if I just say, come to the game, okay. But if I say, hey, come watch all-time leading rebounder in the program, number one ranked center in the state. Oh, well, I feel like I'm missing something if I don't go.
And that's the marketing that we were talking about.
Yeah, and you got to ride that. You have to ride that. And so I'm at all levels. Yep. Anywho.
All right, my man. Well, I think we
have
solved the world's problems yet again.
You're welcome. Every week you guys keep piling on new ones. We solve them, try to walk away, and then here we are again.
Well,
hey,
next
Jensen,
week,
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Guys, on Saturday, my man Nathan, who is a commercial diver, met me, and I lost my wedding ring. This is just a plastic piece of crap. I lost my wedding ring swimming out at my mother-in-law's and father-in-law's place, Wildcat Lake, a year and a half ago. And Nathan went out and spent a couple hours of his time on Saturday trying to find it, to no avail. It's not his fault. That thing's at the bottom of the silt somewhere. But yeah, it meant a lot to me, man, just as a friend and a person that you'd come out and help me and try to do that. And so thank you so much. He's retired. Now he's just a joy diver.
Joy diver.
But I love you, buddy. I appreciate it, man. It meant a lot. So, anyways, that's all
That's
I got.
very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Give
next
Nathan
week,
a high five and a hug if you see him.
Next week, we don't have any special guests on. We don't have anybody coming on that we know of. But I can tell you one thing. This guy right here turns 11 next week.
I almost forgot. Yeah.
This little shit's going into middle school.
We're going to be leaping into our show next week. I'm really excited. So, do you know how many people have called me and been like, "Hey, can you do this Thursday, or can you meet on Thursday, or hey, we have this on Thursday night. Can you come help coach?" No, and double no. I get one birthday every 4 years, and I'm not spending it with you, jack off. So, I'm going to have carrot cake at home with my family because that's my favorite. And I'm gonna celebrate turning 11. So
11 years old.
I know. Can you imagine?
You act like you're 11.
You and Rach. Tell you what. 11. Congrats, Luke. I know, man. It's been a long run.
11 years old. All right. So join us next week. I'm sure we'll harass the hell out of the 11-year-old
birthday celebrations.
And in this particular instance, we're allowed to pick on minors. But typically, no.
Oh, you're allowed to pick on minors in our country right now, anyways. So, especially in the blue states.
No kidding. No kidding.
All right.
Oh, look at that. It's time to go.
Weird. All right, guys.
Take care of yourselves. Thanks again, Booch, for joining us.
Yep.
If you missed it, go back, watch the beginning of the show. It was really great to catch up with Ryan. And take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. Stay out of trouble. Don't do drugs. Unless you call us.
Yeah. Sorry, don't do drugs and not share.
See, the show is rated E for explicit, so we can say that.
The further we get along, though, the less the kids are watching. So
That's true. All right, take care, you guys.
Appreciate you.